Last week, the poll for the PvP arena rewards closed, with every single reward failing to pass the poll. Now, there were problems with the individual items, be it a feeling of them not fitting with the game, since they replaced existing content like Void or the Torso for PvPers, whether it increased the power creep too much, or the fact that it simply just wasn't communicated clearly why they should be added at all, or what the items did, especially since they changed them quite dramatically after the beta. However, the fact that every single item failed suggests that there's a wider division between the OSRS and PvP communities. So let's talk about it. As PvP as a whole, all the different aspects, what's been going on recently. And this poll is a great place to start, because the voting for this poll was different. The voting was restricted to people who had quote-unquote engaged in PvP recently. Actually, I don't even know if it needs to be recently, but just engaged in PvP. And now the criteria was pretty lenient, but it was very specific. So you needed to have gotten a certain number of kills, I don't remember the exact number, in the PvP worlds or in the wilderness, or you needed to have won one LMS game. I could vote because I've won 7 LMS games, which isn't a lot. You know, I spend a lot of time losing there. But pretty much you could vote as long as you put some effort in to participate in PvP in one of these areas. Now, this doesn't include something like Soul Wars, which some might say like is PvP for sure, but you know, you can definitely do Soul Wars without doing PvP, so I guess they just wanted some surefire. These are some ways that people for sure, you know, they have gotten kills, they have engaged with the PvP mechanics. And in discussions, the mods have said that this strategy produced some pretty interesting results. While it didn't suggest that people who couldn't normally vote in this poll or just barely could vote would have changed anything, it does suggest that it was a good strategy to get some ideas directly from the PvP community and get a sense of where they are. And they're really, you know, separated. They're a lot of them don't know exactly what they want, or they don't agree on what they want. There's a lot of different divisions within the PvP community, and no one really knows the right way forward. One aspect of this is the focus on PvP minigames as a whole. LMS is by far the most successful and least problematic PvP minigame to the rest of the game in terms of it not offering a lot of negatives. When Bounty Hunter was around, it was quite popular as a PvP minigame, but it did offer a lot of negatives to the rest of the game in terms of abuse, whether it was just pure gold farming or Iron Men going there for supplies. They changed it around so many times trying to fix the issue, but people always kept coming back for that extra loot, for that extra benefit. I just deposited 1, didn't I? Okay. For that extra benefit that you could get just by boosting. And even among the PvP community, it was seen as extremely broken and something that needed to be totally fixed and overhauled. And that's why it was removed. Soul Wars, as I mentioned, is technically a PvP minigame. It's a minigame that has PvP aspects. It has PvP, it encourages PvP in terms of, you know, the best way to play. You can't really just play the game by killing the monsters. You don't get enough points, and overall, it's just kind of a waste of time. What you really want to do is get a mixture of, you know, points and monster kills and bones and areas captured and players killed. So it really much is a PvP minigame, but people don't see it as a PvP update. What a lot of PvPers and PKers want is something that's focused on traditional PvP, that's outside of minigames, that's in the main game, and that gives you rewards based on how good you are, based on your skill level. You fight other players, and when you win, you get their items. That's traditional RuneScape PvP. And these minigames and funneling people into mini games where all you get is maybe some cosmetics, maybe some small rewards. Like, that's not exciting for them. Even though it's the same mechanical activity of fighting, they don't get the same sense of, wow, this is high risk. Wow, I'm risking I'm risking a lot of money for this. And then when you get the kill, it's that dopamine rush, that reward of, wow, I actually got the kill and I made some money. So mini games, are they the way forward for PvP or not? A lot of people want the way to engage with a PvP scene without risking all of their stuff, especially as a way to learn. LMS is great for that because you can just hop right back in as soon as you die and you've lost nothing except your time. And then later on, as you get better, you start to actually get enough points to buy some rewards, whether that's just cosmetics, rune pouches, something for your account, or just some things you can sell in the Grand Exchange to make a quick buck. But the PvP arena is one of these mini games where it's not really clear what the strategy should be. It came in to replace the duel arena, to offer a way for people to have these one-on-one fights in a variety of setups, not just in the LMS way, but kind of, actual ranked. Like, you could fight people. If you wanted to take someone to the duel arena and be like, let's have a fight, you can do that in the PvP arena. And the rewards were offered that were much more PvP specific and untradeable, so that you could progress your account to get into the rest of PvP by going to the arena. But again, some people don't want that. They want traditional PKing. And some of that is the predator-prey relationship. So this is an aspect of the game that a lot of people have very strong opinions on, for or against. And it's been going on, since the start of RuneScape. Jagex originally created the wilderness as a place for people to fight. And people went there to fight each other. But after a while, some people realized, I don't actually like fighting, so I'm not going to go there. So Jagex needed a reason to put people in the wilderness to encourage people to fight each other. And that's the idea of wilderness content. Wilderness PVM, wilderness skilling, there's minigames, there's the achievement diary, there's ways to progress your account with like the Mage Arena 2 capes and Mage Arena 1 before that. And those are not thought of the same way today. There's lots of people who think, they have a privilege that they like to exercise, that is, I want to be able to complete the whole game on my own terms. I want to be able to do everything that I want as much as I can just by putting in the effort, putting in the time, and maybe a little skill to learn if it's a complicated method. And, maybe that includes getting every drop as well, PVM drops, items, achieving the highest XP rates in whatever skill you're training. And that goes completely against the sense of this wilderness. The predator-prey relationship in the wilderness is designed around trying to get as much out of the area as you can before you're attacked and have to leave or run away or fight back. So that's why these activities in the wilderness are designed with higher overall rewards than normal activities. It's not that, we need people to be out there catching black chins for so much more XP than red chins. It's that if you want to go catch black chins and make more money, you can do that, and you're going to get a comparable XP rate to red chins, even though you're getting interrupted every now and then by PKers. And that seems to be maybe not the way forward for some people. A lot of mods have talked recently about removing specific activities from the wilderness, like the dragon pickaxe. And some people are not really a fan of this. If you have an example here, please ignore the large bald man at the bottom. But SkillSpecs is a well-known PKer, and he's saying on Twitter, he's like, why are we even considering moving it out of the wilderness? How's it going to fix anything? And the truth is, it's not going to fix anything for PKers. In fact, it'll just make the wilderness more dead than it was before. But that's not really the focus with this, proposed update. The proposed update is to say we want to fix the relationship that people have with the wilderness in terms of feeling like they need to go there. Because the wilderness shouldn't ever, in these people's minds, be a place that you need to go. It's a place that you can go if you want extra rewards, if you want a sense of risk, and if you want to engage in PvP content. And if they're like, well, I don't need the extra rewards, I just want a standard rewards, which is the rest of the game. I don't want the sense of risk because it, stresses you out. Maybe you don't like the idea that you can lose things on your account that you worked for. And you don't want to engage in PvP content because that's not what you enjoy. But from a PKer's perspective, all these updates do is reduce the activity of the wilderness and reduce PKing activity. And that is kind of crazy because if you think about it, no other part of the game ever has content removed. Ever. Content might die out, it might get less popular. For example, if you look at God War's Dungeon. God War's Dungeon used to be very popular in terms of masses. You would go to a Bandos mass with like 10, 15 people, and you would try to get a BCP, and that would be, your Friday night. That's not really a thing anymore. Those bosses have really become solo gameplay, and for a lot of people, it's just not something they like doing anymore. It's kind of less popular. But, imagine if you were logging on one day and Jagex just said, oh, with today's update, we've removed God Wars. It just became, it's become a little too many people there farming gold and pumping these items into the game. So we're just going to remove God Wars and we'll put those items back in the game somewhere else that fits a little better. That's just kind of crazy to think about. Like, the thing that you come to RuneScape for, the thing that you want to log in and do, is just not there anymore. And they were not offering a replacement. They're not offering anything better. They're just saying, too bad. People didn't like it, so we're removing it. So from a PKer's perspective, you got to just think, like, how is it possible for Jagex to focus on catering to the people who don't even want to PvP when the PvP community is already on an extreme decline? And that just, extreme decline like that can be argued, but the point is that these updates, from a PvP perspective, all they do is further lessen the amount of people that are doing PvP. But at the same time, like, we have other examples. The people who do like the predator-prey relationship have proposed all sorts of other things. One example was during the Game Jam, one of the new mods, Mod Soften, proposed wilderness expansion. And this is, not the first time that something like this has been discussed. I think Abyss and a couple other prominent PvP members of the community had come up with some expansions on the wilderness suggestions long ago. And the idea was to improve the predator-prey relationship by making the wilderness actually, worth going back into again. Because even though there are still items like the Dragon Pickaxe that some people want to go for, the allure of a lot of the things that used to draw people to the wilderness have decreased over time. Black chins are just kind of botted and gold farmed. The bosses, GP per hour has decreased. Green dragons are definitely not as popular anymore. KBD is not as popular anymore. The skilling area in the deep wilderness is not really popular in terms of other skilling methods that have come in that are better. And, the wilderness agility course is not as popular anymore. Even like Wilderness Slayer, they've tried to make it better to make more people do it. But the fact is, like, with Konar and the popularity of tutorial skipping and also just a lot of Slayer tasks getting improvements, you don't really need the extreme benefit of, whatever it is, 15, 25 points per task that Wilderness Slayer gives you. So there's really not as much incentive to do it anymore. But the expansion offers like an entirely new area with entirely new items, rewards, gold, skilling, basically all new content to bring people back into the wilderness. And while part of this area, I remember there was a part that was like designed to help get people into PvP. There was a new PvP quest, basically a tutorial on how to fight and what it does and that kind of thing, which is interesting, and I think that's definitely needed in terms of an official PvP on-roading within the game, just to try and make it more popular. The majority of the area was still only there to bring back that predator-prey relationship, to get people back into the wilderness so that other people could hunt them, and then other people could hunt the hunters, and then the PvP scene would thrive a bit more. So, the fact that they're even thinking about that means that there are a mixture of opinions on the predator-prey relationship. And even, for example, like if you talk about like within the JMods, this week on the Q&A, one of them was talking, I don't remember who it was at the moment, but they were talking about the predator-prey relationship and how the wilderness is somewhat dead. And they said, well, if the wilderness was extremely active with PKers, no PVMers would ever go into the wilderness because they know they're just going to immediately get PK'd. And so there is a natural balance between how active it is and how many of these people that are going to be prey like actually end up going into the wilderness. So you can't make it too active or no one will ever go there, but you can't make it too not active or no one will ever go there. So you need like rewards that are somewhat worth going to the wilderness for. Overall, I think that this topic is like a key central topic of the PvP discussion. I think it's worth trying out a lot of different stuff. But the one thing that I think is definitely true is that the wilderness as a place where people go to fight each other is still active and could be more active. One thing that's been suggested in the past is PvP worlds being removed and forcing everyone to fight in the wilderness again. There's a lot of mixed opinions on that. Basically, the main worry is that when you're in the wilderness, a lot of times you can't teleport, you can't go back to your house. If you get tele-blocked, you kind of have to run very far to go to a safe zone. And one of the things that Ferox Enclave tried to do when they added that was to give you these areas to fight right outside, where even if you're tele-blocked, you can run right back to the safe zone. But I don't even know if that's true. I think that there was like some restriction where you can't go through the barriers if you're tele-blocked. But either way, PvP worlds have a niche in terms of relatively safe fights where once you finish the fight, you're safe, you can go back to your house, you can go back to the safe zone immediately. That the wilderness would have to be adjusted to accommodate something like that. But I think that is something that could happen. But again, then if you're looking at it from a PKing perspective, you're just saying, well, you're just taking away PvP updates again. What if you're a person who only likes fighting in PvP worlds and you log in and they're just deleted? They're just completely gone. Would you go to the wilderness and try to find the new place to fight? Or would you just say, well, I guess I'll go play a different game instead? And there goes one more member of the PvP community. So yeah, the wilderness and the predator-prey relationship, very complex topic. But it's not the only one that's plaguing the PvP community right now. One of the big problems with PvP is kind of the PvP people. And this isn't like everyone in the community. Oh, that's my phone mistake. This isn't everyone in the community, but there are some bad apples in the PvP community, and it kind of comes out in a lot of different ways that gives it a bad look. when I listened to the Sebe cast talking to EVscape, he talked about running events for the PvP community uh, in a non-official capacity and in a potentially official capacity. Uh, he's run events like the Battle Royale before, which is like specific content creators invited, and he's been involved in discussions of, like the Dead Man, like I think there was some like PvP Invitational. I remember, I think he was somewhat involved in that or in the discussion of it. And one thing that he said about it was that there were discussions going on between Jagex and the players that just turned so nasty. Like the players were like doxing or threatening or something like that, like a member of the staff or things that they said or tried to do. And or there was times at a tournament where like they tried to organize this tournament with Method, I think, and it was something about the two people who finished like wouldn't even finish the tournament because they were in the same clan. They just kept spamming the name of their clan and just like behaving badly for the stream or something. And he said basically, as a content creator, he doesn't ever want to try and host something for the PvP community more because they just ruin it and they just behave badly. And this isn't even just related to like person-to-person interactions, it's also in-game. One thing that just came up recently is plugins. So a lot of people have talked about plugins and auto hotkeys as like a way to cheat in PvP, and it's definitely noticeable if you play, and if you can tell people that switch just like all of their gear in one tick and all of their gear back the next tick. Like that's just not really doable by a human. Like in theory, yes, you can do it, but the consistency with which these people do it without being known as, maybe if you were the best PKer and everyone knew that, that would be different. But the auto hockey is like, it's just extreme and it's just not enforceable by Jagex. Like because it's all, on your own computer, like they can't really tell whether you're doing that or not in a way that's strict enough to actually ban someone. And then you have things like this. This plugin, Ian is bringing to light just today, pure spam. And it's just another example of like people who can be in the PvP community who just say, we don't care. We're just going to completely break all the rules because it gives us a slight advantage in the game that we're playing. And ultimately, it could end up really harming the game. For example, there's restrictions within the balance of PvP where certain items don't have spec bars. And that's really important because it means you can't one tick at Granite Mall or an AGS. You have to like put it on first, wait for the spec bar to appear, and then the next tick you can attack with the special attack. But if you have something like this, you could go, you can have clients where the special attack bar is there even if the weapon doesn't have a special attack bar. It just completely bypasses that balancing limit. And then a key part of the game, a key function of the PvP balance is just completely destroyed because people just don't care and they'll cheat. And then now you have plugins like this where everything is visible on one tab. It makes things incredibly easy, and that's not even considering the ability to have your client like automatically change your prayers, click stuff for you. Like this is all just complete disregard for the rules of the game and the spirit of the game. And it really sucks because there's a lot of people, avid PvPers, PKers from the old school days who love this game and love the PvP aspect and would never do something like this because what's the point of doing that? It's just not the same game that you're playing anymore. But as with all games where there's PvP aspect, the desire to get ahead and to win can always take over and can always force people to do things that, aren't in the spirit of the game. So that's kind of where we are right now. There's cheating. There's completely different opinions on the predator-prey relationship in the wilderness. There's completely different opinions on whether PvP minigames are fun or totally useless. The voting has showed that even when it's just people who have interacted with PvP, they still can't agree on what kind of rewards they want from the PvP content. And it's really not clear where the best way forward is. In terms of suggestions, as I've said, I think removing the PvP worlds might be a good suggestion. Forcing people to go back to the wilderness. I don't really have much else. I think the predator-prey relationship has been tried a good amount of times in terms of does it get people into the wilderness? Does it encourage people to go PKing? I don't think it really does. I think, the wilderness, it's in a place right now where people can't agree on what needs to be there and what could be there. And not to draw like too many parallels, but if anyone knows about RuneScape 3, they also have the wilderness still to this day. And although PvP is a lot less popular there because of the combat system, it's still a discussion where people are saying we want this area to be not restricted by people coming up and killing me. And so one thing that they're trying this year is making the wilderness an opt-in PvP zone, where if you don't want to be attacked by players, you won't be. I don't think this would ever come to old school, but it just makes you think, if people don't want to be attacked, they just don't go into the wilderness. But is that good or bad? From both sides, Is it good to feel like an entire portion of the game is closed off because you don't want to engage in PvP? Maybe that's just the sacrifice you make. Is it good to feel like people are just not going to come into the wilderness even though there's benefits there for them? Or if those benefits are removed, maybe you want those benefits to be higher so that people come in. I don't know. Let me know what you think, guys. This is a topic that, is kind of going back and forth within the last couple of days, last couple of weeks. It's an extremely hot topic and has been for a long time. And no one seems to have the right answer, TM. If you enjoyed this ramble, if you want to let me know what you think, please leave a comment. Please hit me up on Twitter. Subscribe to this channel, please. I need subscribers. And maybe check out one of the other videos. But until next time, I'm out. Peace.